Imagine a world without choices. Imagine you can't make your own decision. That wouldn't be a world for me. That wouldn't be a world for you. You, I see.
Tell them we're gonna be stronger. Together, together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. Gonna be stronger together. Time we all just unify. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. It is a natural right for every human being to be free. Free, so free. So the government is
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of UIC Jamaica. We're actually not on UIC Liberty TV tonight because, well, for the last few nights, because we've been blocked by YouTube. So we're not over there, so we're over here. Fortunately, we have this UIC Jamaica channel that we have not been pushing so much. So you'll notice that the subscription level is fairly down. So please like, subscribe, and share this channel with your friends and family so they too can be able to share and participate in our programs, especially when we're locked off from the other side. Welcome, Lion Ruler Jungle. Good to see you on. Welcome to you and all of our viewers tonight. You're always here on time as usual. And I see you have migrated very well to this new platform. It's not really new, but we don't normally, do our lives from here, but we're doing it now. Thankfully, we had it set up before. Good evening, Sonia Mignot. Good to see you on as well. Thank you for joining us. Lion Ruler Jungle said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery by voting UIC and making Mr. Patterson Jamaica's president, a man with a vision for the people. Google that. Or should I say Google that? Lovely Jamaican there. So tonight's program is entitled, what we call it again? Election a come, me want me partner. I wonder what I mean by that. Election a come, me want me partner. Good evening and good night, and depending on where you are, good morning. You never know. Some people are in different parts of the world. Do you know we have members in Sweden? We have members in Japan. We have members in Australia. Of course, we have lots and lots of members in the USA. Whole heap of members in England. Whole heap of members in Canada. And so we're really pleased to have so many UIC supporters. We call them uniters. We call ourselves uniters because we're about bringing Jamaicans together. And so, yes, we have people in Cayman Island as well. There are persons in Barbados. There are persons in Turks and Caicos. So there are lots of Jamaicans all around the world who are following and supporting the UIC. Good night, Mr. Mark Meeks. Good to see you on as well. Desmond Myrie, big up yourself. Good to see you on, my favorite taxi driver. I still owe you a trip, eh? I still need to come down to Kingston and do that road tour with you. I'm looking forward to doing that. So good night again to all of you. Yeah, so the topic tonight is election a come, me want me partner. What is that all about? What are we going to learn about that? Oh, a quick piece of commercial here before we go any further. I need to tell you about this. You may never, I don't know how much you know, but you may never have seen this before. It's called Be Sweet Jamaica honey. 100% pure organic honey produced by yours truly on my bee farm over here in St. Elizabeth. Incidentally, this honey is sold around the world. Yes. It's one of Jamaica's finest export product that we send to various countries around the world. We're blocked from England, so if you're in England, we can't send it to you, unfortunately, because the English system don't allow us to send it through. But all of our friends across the United States and Canada, where most of our sales are done. And incidentally, recently, we have opened a new market in Germany. So our German friends are enjoying Bee Sweet Jamaica honey. So this might be a really nice gift for you to get for someone at Christmas. You can order it on our website at beesweetjamaica.com. That's BEE, sweetjamaica.com. So get your bottle today. I think that's the first time I'm doing a commercial on our channel. Tell me what you think. Rate the channel, rate the commercial. I don't think this is my area of expertise doing commercials, but I just tried it a while ago. So later on you can tell me how I did. I also brought myself a small bottle of honey here. This is not bottle, a jar. So this is my own honey that I use here on the farm. I don't know if you can see the bottle. The viscosity is quite thick, and we have a lovely golden color in this one, but it comes in different colors depending on the time of year when you harvest the honey. So if you harvest it during the sugar season, when they're harvesting the sugar cane, you're going to get a darker color and a molasses flavor. So you're going to taste a little bit more molasses coming out into it. So tonight I'm going to do a taste test. I mean, I know how it tastes already, but I'm going to share this with you. So you are not going to be able to taste it, but you can at least see me enjoy it. Whoops, messing up the place. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. So let me wipe this up just a second. I'm kind of messing up the place here. My wife is going to kill me. Here we go. Cleaning that off. Cleaning that off. So now you know the ants are going to be all over the place when they smell and taste all of this thing here. But yeah, get your bottle of Bee Sweet honey on beesweetjamaica.com. Here you go. And when you buy a bottle of the honey, we normally put a little surprise in it for you. Sometime, not all the time. But this time, anybody who orders one, let's say sometime today or tomorrow, I'll send you a special gift in it. You're going to be surprised. Back to our lesson for today now, tonight. Welcome, Lamar Ray. Good to see you on. And our topic for tonight is, thank you, Sonia, you're so kind. She said I did well. Our topic for tonight is election come Waan, Pawdna. Now, when it comes on to election time, some amazing things happen. We lose our head. It is called the silly season for good reasons. During election time, people just absolutely lose their minds, and there's a big frenzy that happens. There are different group elections. Some are looking for the little gifts that they're going to get from the persons who are running for office. So the candidates who are going to go around and give out some gifts. They're going to give out gifts in the form of monies to come to conferences prior. They're going to give out gifts of monies to come to divisional conference or divisional meetings to bring out people. And you're going to have the government of the day normally doing a little bit more work. Like right now, you have the Christmas work being given out. Now, that's an amazing thing, Christmas work. Think about it. You are starved all year. Them starve you for the year. Starve you, literally. Starve you for the year. And then, just around Christmas time, they give you some bola walk. Yeah, some Christmas work. And what do you do then? You go out. I see it all around here, especially in my rural community here. Not so much in Kingston. They have different things there. But here in my so-called rural community, they give out Christmas work. And so people go and, once a year or sometime during Labor Day and other periods like that, and they're chopping out the place and they pick up a few bits of garbage and bag them and so on, which is interesting. Sometimes they pick up all these garbage, the bags, the plastic bags, the bottles, the boxes, and they put them in these plastic bags, leave them along the roadside for some. So they are burst and then they scatter again all over the place. Really. Anyways, the Christmas work is a very interesting one. The Christmas work, they sell throughout the year, and then you give them some Christmas work at Christmas time, and they chop out the area, clean it out somewhat, and get a little money for the Christmas season, and then that's it. That's it. Now, to me, that is absolutely ridiculous. Can you believe that there's still honey running down here? My goodness. I truly made a mess. 1 second. Oh boy. Lots of honey. Yeah, so after the Christmas work now, the year that the months that follow, you're dead for hungry again. You scrunch. Now, the UIC's approach is very, very different. We like an approach that is more organized and more sustainable. So we believe it's very simple. We have a government that will ensure you have a public works department. That public works department is going to ensure that you hire people, different level of persons, some persons who are doing, regular day-to-day cleaning of the streets, some persons who are more adept at dealing with the landscaping, properly maintaining the landscape, and some persons who are dealing with road works itself, designing, building, maintaining, and you have a continuous program year-round. Yeah, year-round. So persons actually have a job. So some people who are low-skilled, that would be depending on Christmas work, those persons would have already been properly employed, properly trained, and have a year-round employment where they're working year-round. So even though they're not getting a big salary, they're getting a consistent salary and benefits that they can live on and work around. Yeah, and so they're getting paid properly. Yeah, and so at the end of the day, you don't have this starvation mentality. This very same starvation mentality is maintained on a grander scale where you keep most of the people poor, and then at election time, you give out a few things. Now, what the people don't understand is that the relatively small amount of money, which is big money, when you give up, when these two parties get millions of dollars, it's big money generally. But when you divide up that big amount of money among a large cross-section of handout dependent voters, it's a small amount of money. So any one given voter, and again it's stratified, so you have the larger group of the handout dependent voters will get anywhere from a 2,005 to a 5,000 to a 10,000. Then you have those now who operate a little level above those. They will be getting a bigger amount of money, and it goes up the ladder. Those who get the most money are at the very top. They are talking about consuming some serious millions of dollars that allow them to build their very big homes and invest in their businesses and expand their businesses and become more dominant in the economy. But the lower level people that are getting the little bit of money, they're normally dying for hunger. They're on the margins. They're living the sufferation. And funny enough, when you have conferences, see them paint themselves up and they look most amazing, most artistic, and they come out and give their dramatic support for the political party of their choice, and get the small amount of money, and then they suffer for the next 3 to 4 years until election time again. Pretty sad, pretty unfortunate, but that is the way that Jamaica has evolved in terms of our economy. So I'm going to show you a video clip now as we get closer to elections, and we're going to have elections between now and February of 2023. So sometime between January and February, we're going to have local government election. That is to elect about 228 parish council divisional seats. So that's 228 persons will be elected across the political spectrum. Of course, we all are familiar with the fact that these are normally held by the two colonial parties. This time around, you'll have the UIC contesting those elections. We'll be contesting a number of seats. It's unclear yet how many seats we're going to be able to contest, because that depends on the number of qualified and competent candidates we have and the amount of campaign financing that we have available. As you know, the UIC is not funded by the PSOJ oligarchy, so we're not going to be receiving the millions of dollars that the other two parties receive. So we're going to be fully dependent on you as usual. So we have coming up on December 17th our banquet. It's our first Christmas banquet and fundraiser ever in the history of the UIC. And we're going to do that in a place called Savannah Crossing in Clarendon, just outside of Maypen, roughly. And our tickets are for $5,000 Jamaican and $35 US. So you can go on our website at uicjamaica.com and you'll be able to purchase a ticket there. Now, of course, many of you who are online may not be able to attend. You may be living somewhere outside of Jamaica, and that's fine. What you can do is buy a ticket and give us permission to give that ticket to somebody, either somebody you know, or if you just want us to find somebody, and we can give that ticket to them so they can come out and enjoy a good evening, courtesy of your goodwill gesture, if you will. That would be nice. So help us to give somebody a Merry Christmas, if you will, by sponsoring a ticket for some. I know Mr. Keith Romans is already, I think his target is 25 tickets that he's selling. So he's ahead of me and Mrs. Patterson. He and his wife, there are like 25 tickets. We're at 22 as our goal, and look like we're going to meet our goal. And then there are others with 5 and 10 and 2 and so on. But any number, even one, if you can buy one ticket, that's good enough. Big up to Swagger Sue or Sue Brown over there in the UK. Last night she bought 3 tickets. Of course, she's not going to attend, so she's just giving those tickets away. So thank you, Susie Brown, much appreciated. And there are many others who are buying their tickets right now. So, looking forward to your support on that. But I want you to look at today's news. We're going to talk about today's news in the context of an upcoming election. There are many persons who are waiting for their Pawdna draw during this election cycle. So they're raving up, they're getting excited. It's my suspicion that this election, the governing party will receive the lion's share of the donations, because the PSOJ oligarchy is very happy with the performance of the sitting government. And in fact, they're currently arm twisting the so-called opposition to make sure that it continues to play its part in maintaining the status quo. The PSOJ oligarchy is in no mood for a change in the government. Not that it would matter, because if you have a change in the government from the current one to the other side of the coin, the PSOJ oligarchy will still be firmly in charge. So there's no issue there. However, when you do have a change of government, you do have a certain degree of instability disruption to certain processes, and you have to kind of settle down again. So the PSOJ oligarchy is not in for any changes right now. They want to keep things the way it is. There are some people, however, who are of the opinion that a change would be good. And the change that they're looking for, that their minds are telling them to go for it because they're used to the idea. And, it feels good they say, boy, them don't like this prime minister. They hate him, and them don't like him, and they have all kind of things to say about him. And what they don't realize is that this is what we've been doing for years. Yes, you don't like this one, and you put the other one in. What difference does it make? Yeah. So instead of being lazy, what we have to do is to say, boy, we have to do something different now. And the different thing we have to do now is we have to decide that we're going to fund and own our own party. And if we decide not to fund or own our own party, then we're going to elect one of the two that are funded and owned by the PSOJ oligarchy, which means no change at all. Changing the face or changing between one of the two parties will not bring us any meaningful change at all. Why do I say this? Because the facts are clear. The facts are very clear. You and I, in our lifetime, plus a few more years tacked on to that to make it 78 years, we have seen clearly what to expect from the two incumbent parties. Very clear what to expect. I can tell you a few things. You can expect higher inflation rate. You can expect a depreciation of our currency. You can expect increase in crime. You can expect the continuation of a stagnant economy. You can expect significant failures in our high school. You can expect our healthcare system to continue to be struggling to deliver quality service to our people. So these are basic. You can expect bad roads generally. You can expect high traffic accidents generally. You can expect an unclean society generally. You can expect disorder. You can expect chaos. You can expect corruption. You can expect police brutality. You can expect nowadays endless states of emergencies, huge amount of tax dollars spent compared to GDP with no discernible improvements. So for me, as it should be for you, there should be no surprises. If we were tomorrow to elect the other side of the equation, we should not be surprised the year after, the next year after that, to have the same string of issues going on. We should expect no difference. So why are we going to vote for any one of them? Why would anybody want to do that? A simple question, why? Well, here are some of the recurring themes that you see from day to day, from year to year, from month to month. Let's watch some of the recurring themes over and over and over again. It's the same thing. Watch.
Several stakeholders are fearful of a traffic nightmare in Brownson St. Anne ahead of Grand Market night. They are appealing for the bypass to be fixed with urgency. Codian Barrett reports.
Promises by the St. Anne Municipal Corporation to fix the two bypass have yet to materialize, and the holiday season is approaching. Due to the dilapidated condition, motorists are forced to travel through the town.
We have a bypass round there, need to be fixed. Over 3-4 years now, nothing done to one at Liberty Valley coming up. So you can bypass, go around by York Castle. You have one up by the hill, Pawdna. Well, Pawdna, them touch up little top with Pawdna. Then you have round by the western corner around there. There's a disgrace to know directly that we have so many bus, and at the end of the day, none of the representatives that we have don't take care to look after none of them.
According to the mayor of St. Anne's Bay, Sydney Stewart, $7 million was identified for remedial works. But JLP councillor of the Dry Harbour Division, Carlton Ricketts, says that's a waste of time.
Chairman, over a 3-year span, these bypass has never been worked on. right? And the kind of deterioration on these roads, there is no way 7 million can do anything that will show any work so that it look as though it is manifestly done.
And 2 roads.
And 2 sets of bypass, Chairman. This is a joke.
Hey.
It is a joke. That wheel and come again.
While acknowledging those concerns, the mayor, Sidney Stewart, provided this explanation.
But at this point, the municipality is not in a position to find the financial resource to do what is really required to ensure that all of Stanford and other areas are taken care of. But we go into next year, we are going to be looking at the comprehensive estimate. If that money is realized, then we are going to be asphalting all of those roads, so that when we get to 2023 December, there will be no requirement for us to do remedial work.
In the meantime, head of the St. Ann Police Division, Senior Superintendent of Police Dwight Powell, says his team are exploring a temporary solution.
We have engaged a municipal corporation. They have given us their commitment with respect to having these side roads fixed so that some of the trafficking problems can be alleviated in the short term, whilst of course we look at the long-term measures that need to be executed in order to ensure that we deal with these problems effectively.
Cody Ann Barrett, TVJ News.
Thank you for that. I'm talking to myself. I am saying, can you hear me now? I hope you can hear me now. What you just saw a while ago, what you just saw, can you hear me now? Let me know if you can hear me. I hope you can. It's good now. Thank you, Siobhan. What you just saw a while ago is I'm still muted. Can you hear me now? Let me know if you can hear me. I hope you can. What you have seen a while ago is a recurring decimal, a never-ending, continuous problem, basic problem, very, very basic problem of maintaining roads. It's the same problem. It's the same problem that we have had 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Like, it's the same problem. And you say here a JLP councillor saying for 3 years, his JLP government has done nothing to the roads that are in terrible conditions. Yet still, the government will have a very heavy-handed approach to we the people if we do anything wrong. You hear them chastising taxi drivers and coming down hard on them and say, no amnesty for you, pay up your fines. We will not tolerate disorder. Now, what can be more disorderly than a government that cannot maintain roads? A government that cannot plan, design, construct, and maintain the roads that the people have to use. And just now they're going to allocate $7 million to do repairs that are multiple that amount in terms of cost. Multiple. That even a JLP councillor have to be chastising his own government for failing to do the work that they should. So think about it. And then you have the various authorities coming on and speaking. You hear a promise being made, we're going to have so and so done, that by next year, December, that's 2023 December. Come on, we're in 2022 December. Don't tell us about 2023 December. Tell us why it is that you have not been able to address the problem now. And it is because they've stolen the money, people. Them thief the money. They have been stealing the money that belongs to we the people year after year after year after year. And that is the problem. The government takes in $972 billion in revenue. Where does that money go? Where does it go? So we just looked at the road. So that's the road in very bad condition. Clearly, no maintenance plan is in place, like the UIC say, have a public works department, have a scheduled maintenance. So you shouldn't have people quarreling and arguing because you have a scheduled maintenance. So right around the year, you have a public works department with a plan, a project plan. It has every single road on it. It's a small country. We know every road in the country. We know every community in the country. These two parties, more than anybody else, must know everything about Jamaica. Don't be fooled by them. Think about it. The JLP has 228 councillor candidates. The PNP has 228 councillor candidates. Combined, the two of them have 456 councillor candidates on the ground. So they know everything. They have, between the two of them, 126 MP caretaker candidates. 126, 456. And below those, they have PD captains and workers, they call them, right across each of these divisions. So these two parties knows every nook and cranny of Jamaica. There's no reason why any community should be left unattended, because they have people embedded in every community to make sure they bring in the votes. What they don't have is a network of people that is committed to making sure that they lift up the quality of life, the standard of living of the people in those communities. They don't have that. They have gangs, they have workers, they have divisional representatives, they have councils, they have area this and area that, and they have persons in charge of everything focused on winning election, to get power, to get access to your tax dollars and my tax dollars, to get access to be able to borrow money in your name and my name, to be able to enrich a small number of people. You call that a concentrated benefit. So you concentrate the benefit in the hands of a small number of people. And then you disperse the cost across the vast majority of us. So watch me now. There are 2.9 million, let's say 3 million of us here in Jamaica. 3 million. And what you will have is a concentrated benefit of a few $1 billion that will go to a few of us in the economy. A few $1 billion, a few billion, to a few of us. So the few is like the Prime Minister and those in his cabinet, ministers, councillors, divisional workers and leaders who are doing things to help them win elections, persons who they have different boards and committees across the country, school boards and so on, and different agencies like the CMU and Petrojam and so on. And that small group of people, roughly about 7,000, roughly, they get to suck that money out of us. And then the rest of us now, the 2.9 something million, the ordinary people, the working people, the people like myself and others who have to get up every day and go to work and earn a dollar. Earn it. We have to earn every cent. We have to physically earn it. We have to go and sell something, pull something, stock something, push something, fix something to get a dollar. That's how we earn our bread. While the way they earn their bread is not a decent way. It's by scamming. And their scamming is done in a legalized system called politics and government, where they get to focus their energy and effort, their time and talents on how to deceive the Jamaican people, how to trick the Jamaican people into giving them political power so that they can now control the purse strings of the nation. And by doing so, extract as much as they can during the 5-year period that they're in office and hope that they can trick you again for another 5 years to stay in power. Now, above these power-hungry people that occupies these two parties, above them is the PSOJ oligarchy. They know they win no matter what. So they don't waste their time and energy so much in running for political office because that's unnecessary. They just simply provide the funding for the horse race to take place, for the theater to take place, for the drama to take place, and for us, the peasants, the underclass, for us to get excited about the elections, get engaged and jump up and down about elections, while they're just sitting back and watching us and laughing while they drink champagne and eat caviar. And they're fine. They will then go and have dinner, go to functions with these ministers and prime ministers and minister of this and minister of that, and they'll have fun, eat, drink, and be merry, while the rest of us out there, suffer the consequences. And all the cost of that, the cost of the corruption, the theft, which the benefits are concentrated. Remember, that is the key. So if they thief $1 billion, that $1 billion must be paid for by somebody. So if let's say 10 persons get $1 billion out of the tax coffers, that's $1 billion that was borrowed from somebody else. That $1 billion must be paid back. How will it be paid back? It will be paid back from the taxes that you and me pay. So they will charge us the taxes, which includes paying back principal and the interest on that $1 billion. And that will be divvied up among us. Those of us who work hardest and pay more tax will be a greater contributor to paying back that debt. Those of us who are less competent and less skilled and less engaged in productive pursuit pay back a smaller amount. But all of it will pay with that wasn't fixed. All of it will pay with the child who did not get a good education and become a criminal and kill one away, or at least cause us to live behind bars. You see, our house is full of burglar bars because we're criminals, eh? So we're living bars because we have created a criminal society. So one way or the other, all of us will be touched by even those who got the benefit. They'll be touched by the cost of a bad society. And that's why they don't think, they don't have enough brains to realize you're getting the concentrated benefit and you're getting your big house and your big wall and your security system and your big dog and you're living it up. But still you're living in a country where you have to be looking over your shoulder. It feels unsafe, it's dangerous because of the conditions you create. Nevertheless, many of them are happy with that situation. They're okay because they feel somewhat insulated from the problem. Some of them have security, or they have bodyguards. They don't have to do things that you and I have to do because they can send somebody to go and do it. You don't have to go to the office to do our payments or do. They just send somebody to do it, and they get skipped to the front of the line. They don't have to go through the same thing. They want a bank account open, make a call. It's done. No big deal. If you and I want a bank account open, no. You go join the line and fill out the form and wait for the long process to go through, and then eventually you get your bank account. So that's the kind of Jamaica that they have created, the kind of Jamaica that we want to get rid of. But let's look at another problem here. Just today's news, and this is today's news. And the point I want to you is this. It's a recurring decimal. None of it changes. Yeah? None of it changes. It's the same thing over and over again. So watch this now.
The school in St. Catherine was forced to revert to the online teaching modality in a bid to avert the impact of the transportation crisis. Now, meanwhile, classes at the St. Jago High School and St. Catherine High Schools were reportedly cancelled for the day. Amidst growing complaints about untimely garbage collection in St. Mary, public health authorities are warning against the worrying trend in the types of waste being dumped in public spaces. Chief Health Inspector Rupert Stevens raised the issue at a recent meeting of the municipal corporation.
Amid the accumulation of solid waste in the metal and concrete skips, that there is the presence of rotting meat and at times dead animal carcasses in these skips. This has resulted, Mr. Chairman, in the proliferation of flies and increased harborage of rats, as also unbearable stench.
If you had started studying you could already be a CMA today.
Coming from these receptacles.
He says it makes the work of solid waste workers that much harder and brings discomfort to residents.
There is one at Cricket River in Anata Bay, and there is one in Highgate close to a nursing home along the Fraserwood Main Road, and there's another in Retreat just above the health center at Retreat.
The bin is being used from other people in and around the area. So we can't put it on these people here in this community. They are the one.
There are causes of...
So in my community, and this is the case for many other communities, there's a serious garbage collection problem. There's a serious garbage or waste management problem. There's a serious governance problem. You get the feeling that Jamaica is not a real place. It's not a country with leaders who take the time to plan, design, and manage outcomes in a way that is fixated on improving the quality of lives of our citizens. You get the feeling that we're not really respected by government. In fact, I'm sure that we're not respected by our government. No people respected by their government will be treated the way that the government of Jamaica treats the citizens of Jamaica. And the reason for this, is that the citizens of Jamaica themselves don't know, for the most part, that they're not respected by their government. For the most part, the people of Jamaica don't even generally respect themselves. Now, I know that sounds kind of harsh, but it's true. And the reason why the people of Jamaica don't generally respect themselves is because the people of Jamaica, over the years, have not been taught to respect themselves. They don't have the skills, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the understanding that they need to have as citizens in order to hold a government accountable. They think that merely voting in an election, just generally getting up and voting is enough. They do not get involved in really understanding governance, understanding what a good country should look and feel and smell like. And so we just keep going along with this. And our leaders have taken full advantage of our ignorance. And this is an ignorance that they, our leaders, have inculcated in us. They have cultured the nation to be the way. Because remember, the brightest ones among us normally quickly leave the country, and they love that. They're happy to export us away from Jamaica because we're not really the kind of people they want. They don't want too many well-thinking people here. A few of us are here, and they quickly co-opt them into political corruption so that they will turn a blind eye to things and they will not really challenge them. The UIC is here to challenge the status quo. We're here to say enough is enough. Time up. We no longer want to continue to live in the Jamaica that these two parties have created. Yet it is here, and people are suffering, even without knowing that they're suffering and how they're suffering and why they're suffering. People are suffering every day because of bad governance in this country. But unfortunately, many of us have stepped out of the process. We have stepped out of the political process with good reason, because we didn't see any way out. We didn't see why bother to vote for one of the two. We know the outcome. And then now the UIC is here. The challenge is, how do you get those persons now to step forward and to help? And here's the trick. Many of them think themselves to be too poor to care about politics. They're too poor to care in their minds. Yeah? They're too poor to care in their minds. And so they decide to just opt out, and they're not prepared to do anything. And they're waiting for somebody to come and change the situation without them playing a role in that transformation. Awake Sunshine says, join forces with the PNP, stand a better chance of even getting a seat. Well, Awake, is it my goal to simply get a seat? If I wanted a seat, I could get one long time. If it's just a seat that I wanted to get, then that's easy. I would have joined the PNP or the JLP. Anybody who wants a quick path to getting a seat at the table where you can participate in and feast on the corruption that is there, your best bet is to join one of the two. That's very easy. Anybody can join one of the two. And as long as you have certain qualities that they can benefit from, they will accept you. If you are, educated in the academic sense, if you, can present yourself like the political elites, then you'll be accepted. If you're prepared to play the game that they have been playing, you'll be accepted. And yes, you can run, you can get a seat. If I wanted to, I could be the MP right now for Northeast St. Elizabeth, where I'm running. I could be MP long time ago. I could have represented one of the two parties and win the seat. Based on my personal resources and based on how easy it is because of party loyalty to appeal to people. Right now in my constituency, a number of persons over the years have asked me, come on, run for this party, man, run for a party, we will vote for you. In their minds, they're going to vote for you. They know you're good, and they're saying for them to vote for you, you must join them party, and then they can vote for you. You see how messed up the mind is? So what they're voting for is the party. They're not voting for the change that they need. They know. I have spoken with them in my constituency here in Northeast St. Elizabeth, from Braze River, Elam, Georges Valley, Shiloh, Balaclava, Santa Cruz, you name it. Everywhere you go, the people there, they know that they have been duped and tricked. Many of them. but them still love them party. I mean, seriously, them still love them party. How can you love something that is brutalizing you, that is robbing you? Yeah, I don't get it. And Don Kiki said, you can't get a seat in those parties if your plan is to change things. You're right about that. Well, to be honest with you, they will take you in, because one of the trick that they have, right, and I make sure not to fall for it. If you have good ideas and you can be a competitor to one of the two, they want you to join them still. After you join them now, and try to change you, and if you can't change, if you won't play the game, then they'll kick you out. Now, when they kick you out, you now become a disgruntled comrade or disgruntled laborite. So you lose your credibility. You've lost your credibility. You can't speak with any credibility. For me, I can speak with full credibility because I've never been a comrade or a laborite. I've never been PNP or GLP. I've always been a Jamaican only. And because of my love of country, because I want a Jamaica that is safe, that is clean, that is orderly, that I can be proud of, that my children can be proud of, that my grandchildren can be proud of when I have them, I decided that I'm going to create for myself and every Jamaican an opportunity to opt out of what has failed us for 78 years and to do the right thing for a change. And so I knew in my mind that this was not going to be a slam dunk, an easy thing. So I now look for the easy part. I would love for it to be easier. I would love for more people to wake up faster. I'd love for people to join and give their energy, their talent, but I can't bring myself to undermine my own personal values, to undermine my integrity, simply because I want a seat. I don't want a seat. I want a Jamaica that is safe, clean, and orderly. I want a Jamaica where every one of us can live, earn, and retire with dignity. I want a Jamaica that will protect our individual right to our life, liberty, and property. I want a Jamaica that is the envy of the world because we have the best system of governance known to mankind to this point. That's what I want. Now, if I just want to win election and have a seat and be in the house and be a part of the game and the charade, then there's a much easier path. There's no need for me to form the UIC. I could just join one of the two. So, my friends, I am in this for the right reasons. I am in this for Jamaica and for the Jamaican people. I'm not in this for self-aggrandizement. I'm not in this to get my hands into the cookie jar. If I wanted that, much easier to join the other two. So I'm not prepared to do that. I'm not prepared to sell my soul. I saw what happened to people like Damian Crawford. This young man that I like very much, Andre Orton, his name is. I really liked him, a young economist. He still has a few things to learn on the economic side. He's not particularly fully straight on it, but I appreciated his personal brilliance and the potential that he has to offer. And I watched him for years. I reached out to him, talked to him before he got involved openly in politics. And unfortunately, these young people, they keep going for the easy path, the easy path. Join GLP, join the PNP, easy. Because they have money already. When you go there, they have money already. Everything is good. They have money already, so they can give you immediately. They can give you a platform. So like with Andre Orton, they take him and they put him in the Senate. and showcase him in the Senate and give him little publicity so that him get an edge. People like me now, we have to work from the bottom up. So I didn't get no edge. I didn't get no special treatment. I didn't have any leader of one of the two parties appointing me to this or appointing me to that, so I get a national standing, and then later on, they can put me in a seat and we can run and so on. No, I start from the bottom, and that's how my entire life has been. I've always started at the bottom and worked my way up. No special advantages. So when I come up through basic school and primary school, no advantage. My mother couldn't pay for no private lesson, so I had no monetary advantage. I said, parents would pay for this or pay for that. I had to learn. I had to figure out how to learn and how to master skills and build myself up. Our current Prime Minister, from university right into a politically motivated charity, into Mr. Siaga's office as his assistant, and so from very quick, he's already in political advantageous position. You see, when he became Prime Minister, he was just appointed. He was just coronated by the outgoing Prime Minister. Can you imagine? The outgoing Prime Minister is disgraced. Is somebody who had to resign because of wrongdoing. So he resigned in disgrace. And on his way out, he was able to say, he must pick the man there. He must be the Prime Minister after me. And so again, special treatment. I don't have any of that. I have no special treatment. I had to work for everything I have, work hard for everything. My parents gave me nothing. They didn't have any special gifts, any whole heap of money, nothing at all. My mother was a single mother. My mother was a single mother, 3 children, sleeping on one bed, head to toe, in a 12 by 12 room. So we had nothing. So if I was going to amount to anything, I had to take matters into my own hands. I had to figure out how to learn math because I was dunce in math. I had to figure out, how am I going to fix this problem? And so I went and found some basic maths book and hide in a tree one summer in the backyard and hide up there and work out the baby maths them. Yeah, so I could pick up on and understand things that I missed along the way. I was now older, but I didn't master some fundamental things. And so I went back on my own initiative, and I started from scratch again and went back to learn the basics, the number line, fractions and decimal, multiplication and division properly, build up all the way to basic algebra, and I taught myself. And I went from dunce to getting a 1 in CXE mathematics, to doing A-level economics, to doing advanced level accounts and becoming a CPA. No special advantages, no help. The best help I got was when I finished St. Andrew Technical and got a full scholarship to go to UTech, all expenses paid. That was the first big help. And remember, it wasn't no special gift. So I earned it. I earned it by doing well academically and socially in school. So I passed my 13 subjects, and I did well by participating in Key Club and Student Council and being head boy and junior achievement and being involved in student life. And so I earned my scholarship. Thank God for that, because when I finished high school, there's no money to send me anywhere else. There's no money. So I would have just had to stop there, go get a job. In fact, I did get a job. Before I knew I had a scholarship, I got a job as a pre-trained teacher at Denham Town Secondary to teach electrical installation. And fortunately, I didn't get the chance to take up that job because I was called and told I won a scholarship, a full scholarship to go to UTech. So we want leaders who are not looking for shortcuts to power, shortcuts to get to the top. And that's why some people have sold their souls in politics. You have some bright people in both parties who cannot demonstrate their brightness. They cannot contribute in the way that they could have if they had stood up and say, I'm not going to be a part of that. Even though they could step out of those parties, step out and say, listen, man, no, I'm done with this, and tell the truth. Incidentally, the same gentleman, Andre Orton, he stepped out of the PNP after the last election, and he gave a beautiful interview on a show that I watched with him, and he was explaining how the system works. All of what I'm telling you, he was explaining, because him going there now and him see it, he said he was shocked. He was shocked because he thought he could go in and make a difference, and he thought that what they were saying, they were genuine and so on, and he went, no, that was serious naivety. Yeah? It was very naive. I mean, one of the things you want in a political leader is somebody who is not naive. The person must be fully aware, understanding fully what is going on. So you shouldn't be walking into a den of thieves and not know that you're doing that. Now, he walked into the den, got bounced around a bit, took a few bites, and he quickly jumped out, fortunately for him at the time. And he came out and did a beautiful interview where he break it down the way I have been breaking it down and explain the very system that I've been explaining. And then lo and behold, the man got right back in it. Now, how do you figure? How do you make sense of that? I know why I'm gone back in it. Here's the raw truth in Jamaica. The raw truth here. The average Jamaican cannot make it economically here without being involved in the political connections and corruption designed and maintained by those two parties and funded by the PSOJ oligarchy. The average Jamaican has no hope. Simply going to school and passing exams and coming out and taking a job is not enough for the average Jamaican to be able to enjoy the basic standard of living of somebody living on minimum wage in Canada or the US or England. Yeah. So that is the problem. And so whenever a young, bright professional in Jamaica doesn't leave Jamaica but stay here, very quickly they start to realize that if they're going to amass any amount of reasonable wealth and enjoy any amount of reasonable comforts, they have to align themselves with one or the other and then fight like dog to push their party into power so they can get some benefits. That is the economy that these two parties have created in this country. An economy that is not based on merit. An economy that is not based on you being your best self, but an economy that's based on you being on the winning team in a corrupt game. Yes, there's also the other alternative to gaining wealth in this country. So one alternative is to be a legal now. That's in politics. The other alternative is to be an illegal criminal, such as or drugs and gun trade and other form of illicit activities. So those are the two. The majority of Jamaicans now who are trying to go the relatively straight and narrow, they can't make it too hard. The same person, by the way, who can't make it here, the moment they get a visa and go to America or Canada or England, even if them a bata when them go there, them living a better standard of living than when they're living here. You follow me? Even when them a bata over there, them a live a better standard of living than here. For one, the basic amenities there are better than the basic amenities here, right? So, when they go over there, so at least they have a decent road to drive on for the most part. They might have some bad communities over there too, but generally speaking, the overall situation, they have better road to drive on. They have a more secure environment to live in. Again, remember, there are always exceptions. There are bad places to live in Canada. There are bad places to live in England, bad places in America. But generally speaking, when you go there, so you have a certain amount of amenities that allows you, if you want, to enjoy a more decent standard of living. Now, mind you have to work, it's not for free. You have to really, some get on welfare, but for the most part, if you want a decent lifestyle, decent community, you have to work. You have to work. But Jamaicans are not afraid of work. I know here in Jamaica, we see a lot of laziness, and we say it's not just laziness, it's a mental fatigue. It's a mental degeneration we're suffering here, where the person here just get tired of trying and not make it. So or they get tired of watching persons who they know are trying and not make it. And so they just kind of pull back. Some people, what's the point of going to work, getting a paycheck, and when you get the paycheck, it's just enough to go back to work. There's really nothing out of it. There's very little benefit you get out of going to work and earning. You just exist to go to work, the little money you get, go right back in a bus fare and lunch money. You can hardly buy much in the way of any clothing. You can hardly pay rent. If you have a house, maybe a house that is handed down to you or to the family, you can't maintain it. The roof are falling, you can't fix it. The floor drop out, you can't fix it. The plumbing gone bad, you can't fix it. The light bill go up and cut off, you can't put it back on. So it is so difficult for so many people here that it manifests itself in all kind of disorderly and disorienting behavior. A lot of social problems. Yeah. And so the UIC, under my leadership, recognizes that the way out of all of this mess and degeneration is to attack the problem at the source. And believe it or not, the source of Jamaica's problem is the governance system, the system of governance we have, and the quality of leaders that we have had. Yeah. And so over time, the bad system coupled with bad leadership have created a DNA that is destructive, that's self-destructive, and it's destroying us from the inside out. For us to fix it, we're going to have to replace those who are a part of the DNA. So you can't afford to ever again elect those two parties because their DNA is set that even if they borrow the talking points of the UIC and regurgitate to you our plans, they can't actually implement them to any degree of success because their DNA is bent towards corruption. So let's say they tell you that they're going to make Jamaica the organic food capital of the world, like the UIC says, eh? All of the people that they're going to bring forward as leaders, whether it's a nice, pretty young lady, or a dreadlocks, or a whitish man, or some other derivative, whatever they bring forward to you, all of those persons' DNA, by virtue of their company, show me a company, I tell you who you are, by virtue of the history and culture of those two parties, and the symbiotic relationship with the PSOJ oligarchy, they cannot do any better than their predecessors. Yes, they can have a nicer attitude. So for example, if you change the leader, one might be more soft-spoken than another. One might look prettier than another. One might be a different gender than another. But all of them navel string cut at the same place. So their practices, the way they will govern and the way they have to govern, if they're going to be able to continue receiving the support of the PSOJ oligarchy, will only lead to the outcomes that we have all too well become familiar with. Yeah. So we have to deal with the change at the fundamental level, at the primary level. And that is why the UIC exists. We have to surgically remove the cancer. And that cancer is our system and those who have preserved that system for the last 78 years. They are the cancer that we have to cut out. And then we have to now feed ourselves new food, a new diet, different leadership, different system that's going to reorient us, that is going to cut out the fat of corruption and waste and mismanagement and replace that now with good management, anti-corrupt governance model, and a leadership that is truly committed to the kind of Jamaica that we all want. A Jamaica that is safe, clean, and orderly, where everybody can live, earn, and retire with dignity. That's what we want. But let's take another look here on another problem just from the news today. Listen carefully.
Afternoon for more to be done to fix issues within the education sector. Speaking at a function put on by the Westmoreland Chamber of Commerce recently, President of the private organization of Jamaica, PATTERSON, Keith Duncan, says with a number of Jamaicans without a skill, this affects productivity and the growth of the country. Shamala Pullen reports.
All hands on deck. That's according to President of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, Keith Duncan, who was exploring how to fix the education system in the country. Mr. Duncan pointed to a local study which shows that 1/3 of Jamaica children leaving school are unable to read.
56% could not write.
Oh, you hear that? 1/3 of our children cannot read. 56% cannot write. What Keith Duncan is talking about here is the Jamaica that his organization, the PSOJ, has funded the two parties to create. So he's now going to talk about the problem as if the problem is divorced from the source of the problem. But the source of the problem is Keith Duncan. The source of the problem is the PSOJ. The source of the problem are their two parties that they have funded to lead us down this road. But now he's going to behave as if it's somebody, this has miraculously happened. Listen carefully.
56%. 57% could not identify information in a simple sentence. However,
what does that mean? 57% could not identify information in a simple sentence. What that means is 57% could not analyze. They could not comprehend. They could not reason. They were unable to read a sentence and identify what the sentence was really saying to them. 57% of our people are in that category. You see why and how the two parties will remain in power as long as we allow the PSOJ and these two parties to continue this system, even when they come to us and tell us the problem, but will not fix it because they can't.
And our education spending is ranked as a percentage of GDP. We're spending in comparable amounts to our peers.
In other words, what he's saying here, the amount that we spend on education, or the amount that we report to have spent on education, yeah? The amount that we report to have spent on education is comparable to what other countries that are doing much better than us say that they've spent on their education. Yeah? So as a percentage of GDP, we're not offside. We're not doing less than other countries. We're spending the money. The question is, where is the money going? Yes, it goes into education, but you saw how the rural read situation went. So when the prime minister or the finance minister announces the budget and says so much billions of dollars are going to education, you should ask, yes, but in what education? What exactly? And they might say, let's say they said, so much money went to the school feeding program. Yes, that might be technically true, but somebody may have a corrupt scheme within the school feeding program, whereby they are getting money, more money than the value for what they're giving. So let's say it should cost us, $500 per student for this item. And we have in the system, let's say 700,000 students. But the government ends up paying $1,000 per student, and only half of the students receive the benefit. And that excess amount of money that is listed as spent on education is building somebody's very high wall, nice wall around their house, putting in a very nice chandelier in somebody's living room, buying beautiful Italian tiles to tile their brand new home on the hill. You get the drift, right? So the money technically is spent through the education ministry, is recorded on the books as spent on education, but the quality of education is not delivered because we have not trained the quality and enough teachers. We have not spent the money on the actual things that it should have been spent on. And so the money is spent, but the quality is not received. And therefore, the impact on our economy and the impact on our society is less than it should be. So now you have students who have passed through a system, the money has been spent, but not to develop our students. And we now have to pay back the money that we borrow, or the money has been taxed away from the economy, away from the productive sector, but has not produced productive graduates that's going to help us. He's going to tell you more. Listen to it now. You're going to see that they have failed miserably on the most important thing in our country, which is education.
So we're not getting the educational outcomes that we want.
As a result, this affects the country's labor force. Mr. Duncan's of the approximately 1-2 million people working, 62% have no certification, which means Jamaica doesn't have a skilled workforce.
Now, if you don't have a skilled workforce, then how are you going to drive productivity and growth? Then your productivity is going to be low as a country. If your productivity is low as a country, then what happens is that you have what you call a low-wage model.
So you have what is called a low-wage model. Who created that model, Mr. Duncan? Who created the low wage we have in Jamaica? Did this just happen to us? Did we just wake up one day and low-wage model just drop our way? Or did we, our leaders, those who have been trusted with our government, those who you, Mr. Duncan, and your buddies funded? Because remember, if they funded these two parties, it's because they're happy with what these two parties are doing. Now, so if you fund something, now right now the UIC is funded by ordinary Jamaicans. We get a little bit of money. This year, ordinary Jamaicans would have given us about $5 million by year end. I am forecasting. I know where we were in September. We had about $3 million in September. But based on the projection that I saw, I suspect by year end we're going to have, we would have received from you Jamaicans around the world $5 million. That's all we got. The UIC, $5 million over 1 year. $5 million from the Jamaican people here at home and abroad. You have given the UIC 5 million Jamaican dollars, because those of you who gave saw something in us and said, listen, I want to be a part of giving Jamaica this opportunity. And so you gave us $5 million of your hard-earned money in order for us to build and grow and to be ready to contest elections to represent you, because you like what we stand for. Now, if you compare the $5 million you gave us to what the Keith Duncan and the PSOJ oligarchs gave to the two parties in the last election, just during the election period alone, not outside. Outside of the election, it's much more. But just during the election cycle alone, they gave those two parties $330 million. What does that tell you? It tells you that they believed that what those two parties have to offer is what they want for Jamaica. And so they gave them $330 million last year, that they might have the money to be able to come to you with advertisement, with free t-shirts, with free caps, with free armbands, with monies in t-shirt wrap-up, $4,000, $5,000, with free clinics, free football competition, free this, all kind of stuff. They gave them that $330 million plus more in order for them to come to you and win your votes. So the PSOJ is a part of what you're seeing in Jamaica. What you see, what he's now critiquing is what he and his teammates helped to create. Why is he critiquing it now? He's critiquing it now because using the results of their own actions, they're going to make a case to take other actions, such as to import labor from overseas as part of a strategy that will give more work to those who will give them more money as loans and concessions and grants. So for example, our Chinese friends might say, if you want us to come into your country and give you some more money to do X, Y, Z, you have to allow us to bring a certain quota of people in to do these things. So let's say they borrow $10 billion from China, for argument's sake, $10 billion from China. What China will do, because China is very smart, they're not as dumb as our leaders. They will make a deal whereby the $10 billion come, but you're going to take the $10 billion and buy China's material, China's consultants, and Chinese labor to come here and do the work. So watch what happened. You borrow the $10 billion, you build some infrastructure here in Jamaica, whatever it is, but you bought the material or much of it from the lender, and you bought the consultancy from the lender, and you bought a lot of labor from the lender. So that money go right back into China. Not all of it, but a lot of it go back into China. And the debt now that is left, so you still owe the principal. So you paid the 10 billion. Let's say you spend 8 billion back with China. So about 2 billion is kind of frizzled around here. But you spend 8 billion back with China. And you still have a debt now of $10 billion. Eh? You still have a debt. Yeah. So you pay them the money to provide the service. You pay them the money to provide the service. You pay them to give jobs to their people. So your people here, which you have dumbed down, but can't manage the work because you have depreciated them by your failed education model, yeah, because you maintain a low-skilled, low-wage model, because you wanted to make sure that they were dumb enough to re-elect you year after year after year. So you've done that quite well. So now if you're going to do anything, why does Keith Duncan and others want the Chinese to come or whoever to come? Because when that money comes into Jamaica, some of it goes into their business as well. Yeah. So they're not dissatisfied with this new money coming in, because they need this new money to come in to filter into their business too. The PSOJ is about making money. Nothing is wrong with making money. But we have to understand the implications. We have to understand the strategy here. So Keith Duncan and the PSOJ now, they're now playing their role. When it suits them, they get involved in the national discussion and help to frame the discussion, to help out the government in question, and to make sure the opposition party knows where they stand. So if you want to get your donation for the next election, make sure you're kind of playing the game that the way we want you to play it. And so what will happen now, when it serves them purpose, I'm going to come now and tell you the problem and talk about it as if it's me and you create the problem. And me and you designed Jamaica's education system and managed it for the last 78 years. And me and you manage the taxpayers' money that is spent on teachers, school, equipment, supplies. And me and you manage the teacher training institutions. And me and you set up the programs, the various programs that support our education system, whether it's school feeding program or PATH program or any other program. And may you do it. So why is Keith Duncan coming to talk to us, we the Jamaican people, as if we create the outcomes that we have here? We are the victims of the outcome. We are victims of their outcome. We're victims of their models. We're victims of their management. We're victims of their decision as to which political party they fund and support. So we're just victims. But Keith Duncan is going to talk as though somehow we are to take responsibility, and then now we're to allow them again to build the next model. We can't trust them to build the next model. We cannot trust Keith Duncan. We cannot trust the PSOJ. We cannot trust the two colonial parties ever again to build any model, design any program, run anything, manage any budget, spend $1 of our taxes. We can't afford any one of them to be in charge of our resources because they have failed miserably. Tell me if I'm lying. Tell me if you disagree with me. Write it in the box and tell me if you agree or you disagree with my assessment of the situation. I'd love to hear. Let's listen to more from this fellow.
Because the investments that you can attract as a country are investments that require low skills. Because you can't find the computer programmers, you can't find the high skill, you can't find the people with that new economy is looking for, because we're not training up our people.
And so Mr. Duncan is of the view that more needs to be done to address these education sector issues for the country to move forward.
But there needs to be mindset change, because you have to believe, everybody believes, says, look, you have a leader like Moses.
What a piece of foolishness. What mindset change we need to have? The only mindset change we need to have is a mindset that says time up for these two parties and the PSOJ oligarchy that funds and own them. That's the mindset change we need. So maybe he's right. We do need a mindset change, but not the one he's thinking about. It's not our mindset that got us into this problem. It's the PSOJ oligarchy and the two parties they controlled that got us into this problem. And indeed, our mind needs for change. We the people must now have a new mindset. And our new mindset must be time up for these two political parties. That's the mindset change we need right now.
Down here, and SSP, right? And the CEO of the municipal authority that believe in collaboration and working together, that we start to actually believe that it is possible for us to become the Singapore of the Caribbean, and that we can make the changes in our country to move.
Did you hear that? They now want to become the Singapore, the Singapore of the Caribbean. They're watching us closely. Eh? They want to become the Singapore of the Caribbean now. But yeah, I've had enough of that. You've heard enough. I mean, honestly, they really take us for puppy show, and maybe we are. But it's time, my friends, for us to change course quickly. And we cannot continue to be under these two political parties. And I want to shift gears. I've come to the end of the program now, but I want to shift gears a bit. We sometimes spend a lot of time talking about these two parties because of the history. You know, they play quite an history in our country. They have been in charge of our country now since 1944 under self-governance to 1962, 18 years, and then 60 years from 62 to now as a independent, so-called independent country. So they have really shaped our country, and so we have to talk about them because of that. But I want you to really look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is this. We cannot continue hoping and praying that change comes. We cannot continue to hope and pray that those in those two parties will change their behavior, change their DNA, and suddenly turn into something else. We must accept them for what they are. We must accept them for the wolf in sheep clothing that they are. And we need to now change our mindset. Yes, change our mindset from those two parties and their system and the PSOJ and squarely shift to owning our own party. So the $5 million thing, not to cut it. We have managed to exist and survive to this point, but the $5 million thing is not going to cut it. So we're going to have to do better. Eh? We have to come together. So I want to encourage all of you now to go to our website, uicjamaica.com, and please click on the link and make a donation now of $35 or more towards the banquet, our Christmas banquet that we're going to have on December 17th. And I hope you will come either online or in person. Yeah. You're right, Miss Sonia. I wonder if they heard that, eh? Yes. So when I say it next time, they won't tell me I'm lying and all kind of foolishness like that. Jamaica is in a bad shape, folks. Very bad shape. And you can see it. You know, on every major indicator, we're in a bad shape. And so the only question now is, will you, my friend, will you join me and the UIC in bringing Jamaica the change that you want to see? It's in your hands. It's in my hands. I can't do it alone. Neither can you. But we're stronger together. And that's why the UIC wants to create one Jamaica. Get rid of the division. No more green versus orange. No more comrade versus laborite. No more JLP versus PNP. Let us all be Jamaicans. Let us now shift our focus from party to the principles of good governance. Let us shift away now from the game of politics, the theatrics of politics, and get involved in understanding what must be done and joining hands together, and let us do it. We can change Jamaica. We can make Jamaica one of the safest, one of the cleanest, one of the most orderly countries in the world. We can make Jamaica the organic food capital of the world that feeds the rest of the world healthy food and ourselves. We can make Jamaica a net exporter of water. We can make Jamaica the best example of community tourism there is, where all of Jamaica is clean and beautiful, where it smells, feels, and looks like a tourist resort in every parish, every community, with decent roads, good sidewalks, street lights, everybody having a street address, and we can fix up the place. We can make every Jamaican family a property owner. We can borrow and learn from others. If Singapore can make over 93% of their people property owners in an island the size of St. Thomas, nearly 6 million people, we must be able to do the same with 15 times their land size, 100 times their resources, and half of their population. We must be able to give every Jamaican family a decent home, bathroom, kitchen, living, dining, and separate bedrooms that they can live and enjoy a decent life. We can do it, and we must do it. I don't believe that we're any less than those people in Singapore who have provided themselves great leadership, exceptional leadership, pragmatic leadership that has given them a safe environment, a clean environment with 93% property ownership, and with their children being among the best educated in the world. They spend no more per GDP on their education than we do, but they get far better result because of leadership and governance. And we can do it too. So join me, join the UIC, and help us to make it happen. It is an uphill battle. It's not easy. I'm not calling it some fairy tale. I have been in the trenches now for 10 years straight, working at this building. And you see, it is still small, still growing. Why? Because the mental slavery is so deeply ingrained in us that it's very, very hard, but we're breaking through. Every day we're making strides. Yes, roadblocks here, roadblock there. They block us on our other YouTube channel. They block us on Facebook. They shadow ban us on Twitter and not Twitter, TikTok. The local media, which is owned by the PSOJ oligarchs, suppress us and keep us out of the news cycle. All of that. We don't have enough money to drive around everywhere, go to every nook and cranny, but we're still pushing along. Just day before, what was it, Tuesday, I went to speak at the Marcus Garvey High School. What a beauty it was. I spoke with about 120 or so grade 12 students. It was such a joy. We spoke, we connected. They really enjoyed the message. It was entitled Second Chance or Second Chances, where I showed them how they don't have to give up because things may not be right in their lives today or tomorrow. They're going to face many challenges in life, but I showed them how I overcame and how they can overcome. I gave them examples of other people that I grew up with and how they overcame. We can do this. So we can do this. We can overcome as individuals and we can overcome as a country. And so I'm asking you to give yourself and your country a chance by giving the UIC your full support. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Until next time, remember, one Jamaica, stronger together. All the best. Good night.